I was doing radio on WIOD, and I was also on two other South Florida stations. One station was where I did a lot of interviewing of people who were famous. Philippe Halsman, the man who made people jump, the photographer. Buckminster Fuller drew me something he was inventing called the geodesic dome. I still have the first drawing of the geodesic dome. James Beard was selling cookbooks, and he came by regularly. I had a group of people who on that station came by regularly, who later went on to become very famous. I think it would be hard. Somewhere there's a list. And most of the people on the list are from radio and for that time. Wyatt Cooper, Anderson Cooper's father, was a regular. I don't even think Anderson or his mother know this, but they do know he wrote, but I don't think they knew he was a regular, and we would go out to dinner and then Wyatt Cooper would do the radio show. There's a lot of hidden pockets in that show. And then I was fired from that station and went to work on a station called Waves. We needed the money desperately. And I couldn't afford childcare, and I had 2 children in those days. The interesting thing about Waves was it was classical music. And that's where I developed a love of classical music. The pronunciation was another thing. I don't care how erudite you are, pronouncing all the names on a classical station, I take my hat off to you. I have a great thing that happened on that station. We did the show at noon from a very famous restaurant in a famous hotel. And I would interview all the classical musicians or important people who were staying at that hotel. And one day, the manager of that radio station came in. He said, we don't have anybody now, but you can interview me. What's it like to run a classical music station? So I said, well, okay. And we went on the air, and I said, what's it like to run a classical music station? And he said, expletive, great. And you didn't use naughty words in those days. I had been trained from all my years in radio. And then I looked at him and I changed the subject. Well, how'd you get involved in radio? Expletive, expletive, expletive. It's much worse when I can tell it off the air. But I saw my entire career go down the tubes. And then the guy just looked at me and laughed and said, I put on a repeat, you're not on the air. Now, for a station manager to do that on live radio, that's really, really something.